Renegades, Weapon Tuning, and Insights. This is the first of 3 articles detailing some big changes coming to exotics, weapons, and gear in Destiny 2 Renegades. Some pretty big buffs are coming to some of your favorite exotics, so let's dive right into the news. So today's update here, they got some global general updates to discuss, then they'll dive into everything they're doing for weapons in terms of the ammo system, archetype balance, exotic weapons, and perks. The next 2 Dev Insight articles on Renegades will cover armor changes and then ability updates. So let's first start with the global changes. First up, the HUD buff priority update. Most of the character HUD buffs, which are the buffs that appear on the left side of your screen, have received a priority iteration. It is now much less likely that a player with lots of buffs will have an important buff hidden by a less important one. For artifacts, new gear bonus. The new gear bonus no longer scales with gear tier. Bonus weapon damage for new gear weapons is now 5%. Bonus incoming damage reduction for equipping new gear armor goes up to 10%. It was 2% per equipped piece. And all exotics now count as new gear. Now for this entire article, they usually start this by having like a paragraph of explanation and then bullet points of the changes. For most of these, I'm just going to read you the changes, and if you'd like to learn more about why they did it, you can check out the article. Otherwise, this would be like 2 hours long. For Stasis Freeze, damage bonuses has been normalized across ammo types, and several weapons have been fixed like Ariana's Vow, Leviathan's Breath, and Fighting Lion. There's also been a disorient rework. They unify the behavior across weapons, grenades, and armor effects for consistent gameplay. The Helm of Saint 14 and Touch of Malice remain exceptions though. Overall, it still functions as expected. Combatants cover their eyes and won't shoot back, while players' screens will turn bright with their HUD removed. For the ammo system, there are some changes, first starting with PvE. They're introducing ammo scout mods returning to helmets, and it generates ammo bricks for allies. Ability assist and ally buffs now contribute to the ammo meter progress. They fixed a bunch of ammo generation bugs like for glaives and machine guns. They increased ammo per brick for several exotics like Truth, Colony, Heir Apparent, and Salvation's Grip, and some shotgun types. They also reduced ammo bonuses from perks like Air Trigger, Field Prep, and Envious Arsenal. For PvP, special ammo bricks now last longer, 60 seconds up from 30. Continued tuning for special weapon balance and power spikes as well. Weapon archetypes have some big changes. Sidearms have adjusted recoil animations for better mouse and keyboard usability. Pulse rifles for rapid fire frames that get base damage buff from 15 to 15.5. Bows, faster draw times, and more forgiving scaling across all types. Fusion rifles, charge time slightly increased, PvE damage significantly boosted. The bonus damage scalar 2.5 to 6.7%, and for high impacts scalar from 6.7 to 15. Shotguns, the PvE pellet damage increased on all frames. Aggressive and lightweight frames have been buffed in the Crucible. For slug shotguns, they reduced the aim assist, slightly lower player damage, and some other PvE buffs too, like increasing the ADS damage falloff scalar from 1.2 to 1.3, increasing ammo per brick in PvE from 3 to 6 base and 6 to 12 enhanced. Snipers have 40% less flinch when hit by players. For rocket pulse rifles, ammo economy has been nerfed. The reserves go from 18 to 14 due to meta dominance. This is probably due to Mint retrograde, everybody seems to use that thing, and for good reason. For swords, empty swings are now weaker and no longer scale with melee buffs. Let's now talk about what most of you are probably interested in, the exotic weapon changes. Ace of Spades gets some big PvE buffs to Memento Mori and Firefly. The PvE damage bonus from Memento Mori goes from 18 to 30%, and Firefly gets damage increases as well. Hawkmoon, the PvE damage scales with Paracausal Charge up to 70%. Osteo Striga reduced the cooldown of the Poison Burst on Osteo's final blow for 4 seconds to 2. Bungie says this weapon can dominate the PvE meta, especially in conjunction with Necrotic Grips, so they're being a bit cautious with this one. Suros Regime manual reload toggles firing modes. Ammo bonuses have been added too, so you can special reload it at will to swap between the spinning up and dual speed receiver behaviors. Depending on which one you're on, it'll grant bonus special ammo or heavy. Revision 0 Kinetic Shockwave added to Hunter's Trace Rounds. Touch of Malice increased the amount of healing provided by the intrinsic perk, reduced the number of kills needed to trigger the healing in PvE, and activating Charged with Blight will now fire the healing impulse. Collective Obligation added a very slow rate of leeching effects off unaffected targets. Gives each effect an order of effectiveness with around a full mag of hits per debuff. So Volatile weakens Suppression, also charges the leech mode at the same rate. Symmetry now integrates Bolt Charge for better alt firing synergy. 1 stack of Dynamic Charge in alt firing mode. They've also increased the base reload stat by 20. For Stillhunt, they buffed Stillhunt's golden gun damage while using Celestial Nighthawk by 40%, so the sniper might be back and a good option. Also allow the sniper's meditation to buff Stillhunt's gold gun shots. Witherhoard reduced Silent Alarm auto-load time from 3.5 seconds to 2. Duality reduced hipfire spread by 6%. For Chaperone, they changed Chaperone to use the rapid-fire slug frame damage and rate of fire profile. Ruinous Effigy Catalyst now grants a 30% 15 in PvP damage buff to the Trace Rifle when killing anything with the Transmutation Orb or damaging a mini-boss, boss, champion with a Transmutation Orb. Izanagi's Burden, another big one. Special Reload once again scales with reload speed stat. For Tessellation, they improved Transcendence synergy and reload quality of life changes. So Final Blows now grant 2.5% light and dark Transcendence energy and grant bonus time to Transcendence while active. While Transcendence is active, special reload shots now deal 25% more damage when combined with the Transcendence damage buff. Special reloading now reloads the mag from reserves, and you can now special reload while you have 0 ammo in the mag. For the Catalyst, increased applied Scorch stacks from 15 plus 5 to 70 plus 10, and slow stacks from 30 to 80. For Deathbringer, reduce the spread of the secondary cluster munitions after they are created. Black Talon suppresses targets. The Catalyst buffs Void synergy. On hit gives a 10% damage boost per Void debuff on the target for 2 seconds. Reduce the heavy attack cost to 3 ammo from 4, and increased max ammo reserves. Deterministic Chaos has a new effect, releasing the trigger after a Vexadecimal projectile pulls 12 rounds into the magazine from reserves. For Worldline 0, they fixed a big damage bug and now has large DPS increase, 40% to be exact. For Wolfsbane, it now gets an 8 to 20% PvE damage and survivability buffs. Increased nano assault duration from 10 to 12 seconds, which makes the tornadoes feel a little more forgiving. Damage resistance has been increased on each handle. And then we have some perk changes. That's all the exotics we have for now. Rangefinder now also provides plus 10 range when aiming down sights. Rampage now loses only 1 stack of the damage buff when the timer expires. Yes, this includes Huckleberry. Box Breathing gets a flat 40% precision buff, of course for PvE, and has been rebalanced for consistency. Shot Swap gets a stronger swap speeds and simplified stack system. You now only lose 1 charge on stow. Previously you would lose 1 on stow and 1 on ready. The HUD buff no longer appears while stowed, and to maintain parity between each other, the Sturm Catalyst has received some other tweaks too. Now loses a charge on stow. Previously would only lose 1 on ready. The HUD buff now only appears while Sturm or a Together Forever weapon is in hand. For Sleight of Hand, the buff lasts longer, 8.5 seconds, and activation has been improved too. You no longer need to swap to the weapon within 5 seconds of getting a kill. Instead, the buff timer will activate upon the next swap to your weapon regardless of how long your last kill was. Bray Legacy increased gains for rocket launchers from 10% per rocket to 17%. No longer activates from explosions caused by perks or from Galahorn micro-missiles. Viced Stinger fixed an issue where the Viced Stinger origin trait wasn't working on Viced fusion rifles or shotguns. Bewildering Burst. Disorient duration increased from 0.5 to 1 second against players. Enhanced duration increased from 0.7 to 1.25. And lastly, for Shield Disorient, Photo Inhibition, Disorienting Grenades, and Concussion Grenades. Since Disorient is now a verb, they can apply it more broadly than they would before with the various bespoke effects, so fixed an issue where these perks would not apply to the Disorient effect to bosses. But that's all we have for this news update video. It was a mouthful, and like I said, if you'd like to look at specifics, you can check out the article for yourself. Bungie says there is much more coming. They have dev insight articles dropping every week before Renegades, along with some trailers and the weekly twids. But if you'd like to see some more Destiny 2 news, lore, and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.